Jesus says, if you've got to spare some of the money, go and invest in somebody. If you get the money back, all well and good. But otherwise, just give it to him. That, to me, is true spiritual capitalism. Guy needs some tools, you buy him some tools, he can then set himself up as a joiner or whatever, so he looks after himself. The way we do things at the moment is through corporatism. Money's created out of thin air by banks, and that has been used to wreck the real economy, basically. And again, anybody who's involved in usury says, oh, well, I signed a contract with a bank. That usury, that money was got from thin air, so in reality it can only be turned into real value by taking real wealth from the people at the bottom of the food chain, i.e. the people who are starving in the world. That's why people are starving in the world. It's not because they have corrupt governments, okay, that corruption's made worse often by Western aid, but it's not because of that. It's because we are taking too much money from those countries, their natural resources that should belong to the people. Basically.
Oh, and of course they're getting basically conned into taking these loans as well, aren't they?
That's what I mean.
I guess you know about the economic hitman and
exactly. John Perkins tells the story,
yes.
And again, it's a matter of public record that people who stood up to the US were shot, basically. What's come out of the US Assassinations Manual is they've said, don't put people in prison like Nelson Mandela, you create a hero. Assassinate them by some means that doesn't look like an assassination, then call foul play, and they're gone.
There's quite a long list of them in South America. Allende, I can't remember all the names.
There's lists across the world. David Kelly, for Christ's sake.
Hugo Chavez put two fingers up to Washington at the end of the day, didn't he?
It's always funny these people assassinated people like Martin Luther King and John Kennedy and Bob Kennedy and John Lennon. It's never Margaret Thatcher, is it? Or Tony Blair. But again, I looked at all the assassination attempts of American presidents, and the parallels were all frightening. In each case, the president was taking better control of the money supply from the bankers. In each case, the attacker was sent by them to be a lone gunman, was either killed himself, like John Wilkes Booth or Lee Harvey Oswald, or made no attempt to escape, made no attempt to offer defence at trial, and was then convicted, in the case of these ones in the 19th century, of capital offences and hanged. One of them was declared insane and didn't stand trial. So there's never been a situation where somebody shot at a presidential thing and actually been put on a proper trial, basically. The same with Bobby Kennedy when he was presidential candidate, or back to presidential candidate, when he was supposed to be shot by Sirhan Sirhan. There was no trial because Sirhan Sirhan was declared insane, but the forensics show that Bobby Kennedy was shot with a bullet to the ear from behind. Sirhan was in front of it. The basic forensics do not show what the official story is trying to tell us, basically.
I mean, in the Martin Luther King, I'd urge anyone to read the book An Act of State by William Pepper. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, there
was a US court jury declared him to be assassinated.
He actually had a TV trial, and there was a jury of just ordinary people, and they found it a conspiracy. And with JFK, there was a House Committee on Assassinations.
They say that there was a committee, there was a conspiracy to kill JFK, most likely involving the CIA and organised crime, and not the Soviets.
If anyone's listened to this hasn't read my essay or my audio essay, Conspiracy Theory, a Powerful Phrase, I'd urge you to read that as well, because this phrase, as I've been talking to you about, is so powerful that you say the word conspiracy.
We don't give it power, though. That's the point. If people allow it to be given power, if somebody calls you a conspiracy theorist, take the piss out of them. You don't know what they're talking about. You don't go on the attack. Don't defend your position. I wrote an article this year for Neil Metal as well about conspiracy theory, in which I pointed out that the real conspiracy theorists, of course, are the intelligence services. They do all that stuff. They suddenly, a bit like the Iraq War, they suddenly come up with this great piece of intelligence, a bit like on these, sites like Before It's Not News, where they've got some anonymous source that tells you they're going to invade Iran tomorrow. And no one else can check that because no one else has got the anonymous source. That's exactly like the intelligence services. The misrepresentation of information according to prejudice. And again, I point out the sites that are wildly conspiracy theory are the ones run by the intelligence services. So they're the ones they set up for you to knock down, as they did, and I've got a classic example of this with Mohammed Al-Fayed, very early on the Guyana thing, where there was a man who was known to be a CIA agent, I knew that from MI5, called Oswald Winter, tried to sell Mohammed Al-Fayed CIA documents confirming that the CIA were involved in the Diana assassination. He was charging $20 million for them. I looked at them and told Mohammed Al-Fayed's people in 20 seconds why they were obvious forgeries to me as a former intelligence officer. But you can see where they're going, he then gets these up. Oh, look, this is the proof. These are telegrams from the CIA and MI6. Next day, oh, it's forgeries. Everybody then refuses to believe any information that subsequently emerges, believing that's also conspiracy theory.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what I would say to people. Read the Neon Nettle columns. They're also done in the name of Ron Bately Simons, BAITLEY-SIMENS, which is an anagram of Tony Blaine Nemesis, by the way. And in my articles there, I do give you some of the techniques for interpreting intelligence and what is going on in the world.
Okay.
For example, when Anonymous released something that claimed to be an email from the American military about Ukraine, and again, you analyse this, it was childish. The English in it wasn't proper English. But clearly, somebody inserted a line in there, and I said, it's not like the Americans aren't going into Ukraine. Of course they are. But what this is a straw man thing, so they can reveal it if it does come out saying this is all a hoax. Therefore, the Americans are not in Ukraine.
Okay. Actually, the thing I wanted to ask you originally was about the political system. I've just been preparing a blog post about Yes Minister, as we were discussing, and as far as I'm concerned, people who don't know Yes Minister is a 1980s BBC sitcom. I think it's pretty much just laying out exactly what happens and how politics works. If we take someone like Obama, because it's someone that everyone knows, obviously, at what point do you think he knew what the system was? I mean, it's
hard to tell.
Do you have any insight on
I'd certainly believe that it got to a point with Blair where he really did genuinely want to resign. They wouldn't let him.
Right.
They would, say, because these people are very powerful, they can destroy you. That's the point. They say to Blair, you do your 10 years for us, we'll look after you. And I've been blowing the whistle. I had people coming to me, if you just quietly forget this, we'll all be okay.
We'll
give you a contract, write a book about something unrelated, that kind of thing. Get your job on the Sunday Times, whatever. As long as it's about that intelligence. So I know that they will do that, and it's up to you as a man of conscience whether you take the carrot or not. Let's face it, they will offer the carrot first, but if you don't take the carrot, they will beat you with the stick to your death. So I do think there's evidence that people want to get out. Obama appears to be manufactured from the word go. Nothing about Obama adds up, not just the birth certificate, the whole thing about no one remembers him from law school. There's very convincing evidence out there that Michelle Obama is transgendered. Not a tranny, I don't think to look for. I've looked at the video on the internet and analysed it, and it is quite obvious she has male characteristics. There's no doubt about that. Now, she could belong to the tiny point, whatever it is, percent of people who are intersexed, but even then she would actually be, she doesn't have the right body form for it. It's more transgendered, basically, and she wouldn't be able to have children because she's intersexed. So there's something not telling us here. Now, if you want to take this into the prophecy again, I will tell you that what they show us, and again, another thing alerted me on the internet, was if you look at Akhenaten, looks very like Obama. Now, people are saying to you, why is that the case? Well, it does appear that Obama is a reincarnation of Akhenaten, and partly what we know about Akhenaten is a prophecy rather than history. So this idea of the Akhenaten statue is getting more and more feminine, maybe some indication that actually his wife, there's something going on with gender there, i.e. his wife's a transsexual. And also the story they tell of a man who tries to take absolute power, which is Akhenaten in Egypt, maybe a metaphor for what Obama's doing at the moment. He constantly tries to issue executive orders, he's trying to take absolute power, and given what happens to Akhenaten, there's very quickly, from what we can gather, reading between the lines, a rebellion against this man, and not just a rebellion, they destroy everything about him in Egypt. And it's almost like Obama is heading the same way, like all these people, like Blair. Once their Zionist friends are gone, or once the Zionists are on the back foot, they will not be defending these people. As we were saying earlier on, the 9/11, there was a trail leading to the project for the New American Century. They've got their fingerprints all over it. So as soon as it gets tough for them, they will give up those people. So people like Wolfowitz and Pearl will be the people on trial. They're going to be on trial for capital offences. They're going to be put to death, and the New World Order is going to say, well, there you go, we've lanced the point. So that I would not, I'm saying partly my argument with people like Cameron at the moment is come and talk to me, because in a year's time, there may be an angry mob with burning torches outside your door, and you may need my protection,
Just very quickly, what do you think about the election next year in Britain? I mean, is there any significance to it?
It's an irrelevance. We're going to go into an election in which we have consensus among the mainstream parties that the war is lawful, which it clearly isn't. That drugs should be made illegal. Again, this is an unlawful action under law, basically. You're going to put whatever you like into your own system, basically. So we actually have consensus among those mainstream parties about two issues which are unlawful. That's just how crazy it is. None of those parties are going to go into that election and tell people about usury. None of them are going to go in there and tell them about the common law, possibly the exception of UKIP.
Yes,
well, given that UKIP mentioned common law at the last election, Nigel Farage with a plane crash on the day of the election, one of their people who was standing died, basically. So again, you don't be suspicious here, really, to notice the patterns. So we're going to go into a totally meaningless election in which the Prime Minister may be Ed Miliband.